The creation process. How to create the life you want. So many of us struggle to manifest success into our lives. Most of us don't feel that we have complete control over our lives. Life almost feels like a crapshoot. It feels like there are too many elements out of our control for us to intentionally create the kind of life we want. Like me, for example. When I was little, I dreamt of living in a beachside condo, having a body of a model, owning a fancy car, and being my own boss, all to be achieved by the time I was 25 years old. But as I pursued these things, it felt like I was moving underwater. It felt like I was going against the current, as if each step was a fight. And that's how the process of manifesting felt like to me. But why is that? Why does it seem like manifesting and actualizing certain dreams or goals feel impossible? Everyone wants to be abundant and financially free, but only a few of us seem to achieve it. I thought that if we all understand what the creation process is like, we'll understand the reasons behind our struggles and the reasons behind our successes as well. You see, when we were cavemen, we were once scared of fire. But once we understood the mechanics of it and how it worked, it no longer scared us. Just like that, once we learn the mechanism behind creation, we'll be able to use it to our advantage. Now, before we talk about the mechanics of process of creation, let's first discuss the current beliefs we have about creation and manifestation. Currently, the tried and true method to success that everybody swears by is hard work. We use sheer will and brute force to get things done. We set goals and physically work toward these goals, putting in long hours filled with sweat, tears, and stress. But to be honest, brute force and sheer will don't work out quite well for us most of the time, mainly because we can't seem to keep at it. It's the same thing with diets. Diets don't work because we can't keep living our life restricting ourselves forever. If you look around, hard work hasn't worked out for a lot of people. There are a lot of people who work 2-3 jobs and still struggle to pay their bills. If working hard was the determining factor for success, then I would say that people in minimum wage jobs would be the ones who are the most successful since they tend to work long hours just to meet their basic needs. We're so used to creating by thinking of an outcome we want, setting goals that'll produce those outcomes, and then physically working toward those goals by using sheer will and discipline. But there is an easier way to create if you understand the manifestation process. Principle 1. Go with the current. It's really simple if you think about it. If you have a boat and you want to sail it, it'll be easier and you'll make much more progress if you were to sail it in the same direction as the wind and the current, not against it, right? It's the same way with us and manifestation. If we want to do something or become something, it's easiest if we move with the flow of energy. Just like moving with the current would take the boat far, moving with the flow of energy instead of against it would get us further. One small gesture or action will move us several steps further without much effort on our part. So the key factor here is we need to be able to flow right along with the energy that aligns best with our soul. And once we find that, we need to align our mind and body with the soul, which is always aligned with the energy flow that's most supportive for its journey. Which brings us to Principle 2. Principle 2. Align your soul, mind, and body for one purpose. You have to be good at aligning your soul, mind, and body for one purpose. The difference is having a bonfire and a blowtorch. With a bonfire, the fire isn't concentrated. The heat of a bonfire is spread out, which might be good to warm up a lot of things, but it won't be strong enough to melt certain things like stainless steel or glass. But with a blowtorch, it'll melt down what you aim at for sure. Aligning your soul, mind, and body is like being a blowtorch. Aim your united and concentrated self at a single purpose, and you'll be sure to make a dent. But honestly, how many times do we actually do something with our whole being aligned? I think most times we use our mind and body, but not necessarily our soul. Like, we don't necessarily like our jobs, nor do we have a passion for it, but we do it because it pays the bills. Look, I did this too. Ever since I was a kid, I felt the most me when I wrote and drew. But people said that I wouldn't be able to support myself if I pursued writing. They said I needed to do something practical with my liberal arts degree, like become a teacher. So for years, I chose practical jobs that'll pay the rent. But my soul, my heart just wouldn't be on board. So one day, I just couldn't fake it anymore and I walked away from the life I built. My point is, for things to manifest easily, all parts of you have to be aligned and you have to be connected. You can't use sheer will to achieve what your mind or your ego has conceived and expect to walk away without damages. All parts of you have to be on board. Your soul, mind, and body have to be aligned with your soul as the captain. And even then, the outcome is not yours to create. The outcome isn't in your control. I'll explain this a little later, but for now, let's move on to Principle 3. Principle 3. You are just a small part of a whole. You have to understand that you are just a small part of a whole, no matter how independent and no matter how self-sufficient you feel you are. The universe contains and orchestrates everything, and you're just a very small, tiny part of the universe. Alright, let me explain. Let's take bread. So, the bread you had, maybe this morning, where did you get your bread? From the store, most likely. Then who brought it to the store? Well, distributors. And where did they get the bread? From bakers and factories who use flour to make the bread. And where did the flour come from? From individual farmers. And before these farmers could farm wheat to make the flour to give to the bakers, many, many, many people in history had to put their efforts into cultivating wild wheat to the fat, plump wheat we know today. If you think about this, each individual, both past and present, had to be inspired to do their respective jobs and do it successfully. Each individual farmers had to be inspired to farm wheat, bakers to bake the bread, distributors to distribute into retail markets to sell to consumers at a reasonable price, and etc. and etc. Not to mention all the people who made this plant part of our culture so that we can consume it today. All those individuals in the present and past had to be orchestrated in an exact way for you to have bread. So as you can see, getting toast in the morning couldn't be done by yourself alone. You needed the universe's orchestration to get the toast on your table this morning. That's why it's in your advantage to move with the universe. The more aligned you are with your soul, the more you'll feel the movement of the universe because your soul is linked with the whole, the collective. You see, your soul is just a small pinched off glob of the whole. Your soul, your heart, will get the urge to move a certain way, and the rest of you just has to follow. If you think about it, it's very logical. It's like being part of a big company. You have to be aligned with the company's needs and produce work to support the company. The more you go against the company, the more you'll be separated from the rest of the operation, and it won't be easy for you. You'll be marginalized and isolated. So it's important for you to be aligned with your soul, since your soul is always aligned with the collective. Principle 4. Release your need to control the outcome. This is where faith comes in. Because you're just a small part of a whole, you have to do your part and leave the rest to the whole. Know what your part is, and the outcome will be what it will be. You can't do something with the intention of a certain outcome, since that outcome isn't really in your domain. I don't mean that you should just sit on the couch doing nothing and just wait for the universe to bring you results. I mean that you shouldn't insist on seeing a certain outcome at a certain time. For example, let's say you're working in a company. Your job, along with a team of people, is to come up with new product ideas and write up a proposal for it. Your job is to write a product proposal as best as you can for your company. But whether your proposal gets picked to be marketed and put through the production line isn't within your control. That's up to the countless of other moving parts. If you write your proposal with the expectation of getting picked, well, you'll get disappointed very quickly. Work won't be fun for you anymore since you're not seeing the results you expect. Just like so, you can't create something only for the outcome. The end does not justify the means. If you do, then when the outcome matches your expectation, you'll feel elated. But if it doesn't, you'll just want to give up and life won't be fun for you. So your job is to enjoy your job at hand. Just enjoy creating your part. That's why a lot of successful people say that you gotta enjoy what you do and be willing to do it even if you won't get paid. Choose a job that you'll enjoy doing even if you don't get paid. If you choose something you like, you'll want to master your little part and become really good at it. When you do a good job and when you become an expert at your job, it'll draw attention from a lot of people. But if it doesn't, it's still okay since you're having a blast doing your job. Now, there are many tips to be discussed, but we'll get that in other upcoming videos. For now, if you were to really practice these 4 principles of creation, just think how different your life would be if you were to really practice these 4 principles of creation. Would life still feel like a struggle? And even if you struggle, your struggles won't be meaningless since those struggles would serve as an indication that you're headed against the current. They would be like bells that tell you that it's best if you were to go a different way. And you would be thankful for those struggles instead of hating it. So here are the 4 principles once again. Number 1, go with the flow of current. Number 2, align your soul, mind, body for one purpose. That is, do something you love. Use your mind to plan how to build it and use your body to carry out the action items. Number 3, remember, you're just a small part of a whole, so don't put too much pressure on yourself. Number 4, release your need to control the outcome. Trust me, you'll feel much better. Regards, Ray.